Who's your number? Is Michigan
My
your number
number's
5, you said?
Yeah, so I'm Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, LSU, top 4. Michigan,
Okay.
5. Number 6 is Oklahoma for me.
Number 6 is Clemson for me. So you are putting a lot of faith in Brent Venables, which I have
Yes.
faith in Brent Venables recruiting.
Mhm.
I need to see it on the field. Things like last year's Texas game bother me. How you don't have a backup quarterback ready and capable of
Right.
running even a rudimentary offense scares me.
Well, the thing with Oklahoma for me is they get to absorb the consistency of making the playoff every year that happened during the Lincoln Riley era, if you look back 5 years, but they also get to absorb the recruiting and the program tradition and the potential of what is to come. That might be a little bit high for them, considering that the coach that brought them to this point is at another program that's ranked below them. But I really like what Oklahoma's class looked like last year, and I believe that I don't think that Brent Venables forgot how to coach defense. Like I'm sure
I'm not worried about their defense. I want to make sure their offense is going to be okay. And I know Jeff Lebby's offenses have been good where he's been, and
they just signed maybe the best quarterback recruit in the country. Last
Jackson
year.
Arnold may wind up being the best quarterback in this class. He may wind up playing this year. Who knows? But here's the thing about Oklahoma. If Oklahoma bounces back on the field this season, and I see the on-field coaching acumen as a CEO head coach from Brent Venables, then I'm putting Oklahoma in the top 5 because his recruiting, the roster he will build there, and if he can do it on the field, then that's a program that can then compete for national titles. So,
okay.
But I'm not there
my
yet.
7, Andy. So it's a good segue to the next one.
Clemson's my 6, and it would have been lower had they not hired Garrett Riley this year. The fact that Dabo Swinney admitted to himself that he needed to bring him some new ideas, and then went out and got some of the best new ideas, I think says a lot. And
yeah,
I was worried about that program going stale when they promoted from within after losing coordinators on both sides of the ball last year. That bothered me. You look at their history, when they have had an injection of new information and new ideas, they have made massive steps forward. And so offensively, they absolutely need that. They've become very stale on offense. Defensively, they're fine. That whether that's carryover from Venables' roster that he put together, or that the new group is doing fine coaching them, is probably a little bit of both. But that offense needs to match that defense. If it can, I've got them too low.
I almost feel like Oklahoma and Clemson are the inverse of each other, because Clemson gets to have all the success that they've had on the field the past 5 years, but I'm not so confident in their direction forward. And I like the idea that they went out and got the hottest name and offensive coordinator hires, and I know that that's been a struggle for them. I am not jazzed up about the recruiting, and I am also not jazzed up that the best talent evaluating head coach, who is the exception to the recruiting rule, lost a lot of the players that helped him identify those, or a lot of the
coaches, exactly.
Who's now also the coach at Oklahoma. So, like, when I first came on the show 2 years ago, I said on the show that I thought Clemson's time was up, and that was a major controversial statement at the time. The last 2 years, I feel a little vindicated for it. Now it's a matter of whether or not you think they're dead. I don't think that they're dead. I'm putting them at 7 is not dead.
No.
But like, if this list came out 2 years ago, Clemson would unquestionably be number 3.
Yes.
So
or there would have been a point where Clemson was number 1.
Clemson was number 1 when they won the national championship last.
Yeah.
But they still were unquestionably. In 2009, they won a playoff game, or 2019, they won a playoff game.
Correct. Yeah.
And that seems like a decade ago, but it's not that long ago. And I think that the placement of Clemson on my list is an illustration of direction I thought that the program is headed in. And if Garrett Riley changes course, and they change course and they go back up.
Yeah, they just need to freshen up the offense. And if what Garrett Riley did at TCU last year is any indication, now obviously Sonny Dykes had something to do with that too. But if what Garrett Riley did at TCU is even close to what he can do at Clemson, then they're going to be really good.
Can Clemson beat Georgia?
I got to see the offense. I got to see that offense. But personnel-wise,
look
maybe.
At the roster.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's every year that goes by and NFL
Remember, they played Georgia essentially to a stalemate at the start of the 2021 season when Georgia won a national title. So it's not – I don't think
every year that goes by and the players are leaving and the new classes that aren't elite come in, it gets watered down more and more.
All right.
So, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I think 7's a nice place for them.
So
your turn.
My 7 is Penn State.
Ooh.
Are you shocked by that? I
It's
feel like they
had them.
They start this next tier. Like consistency, we kind of know what we're going to get from them. Last year was supposed to be kind of a bridge year. They went 10-2. Now Drew Aller becomes the starting quarterback. Some of the more elite recruits age into where they should be very productive. I feel pretty good about Penn State right now, and I feel like they're extraordinarily consistent, and they kind of start the next tier of teams.
Yeah, so once you get out of the top 7, I feel like you're out of the elite tier of like what we've seen, right? And I think from 8 to 16 is when it gets most jumbled. So the fact that we're going to be off, on
I don't think they're that different, which I think is going to be interesting when you do get to a 12-team playoff, because that's where you're going to have some weird results.
The problem that I've had with Penn State is that I can't imagine them being a top 8 program in college football when they've consistently lost to the other teams in their own division.
Right. You need them to be better than Ohio State or Michigan for a year.
Every now and then.
Yeah.
And it's been what, since 16?
16 was when they won the Big Ten. Yeah.
I don't want to make us sound old here, but we're pushing almost a decade here since that special season. So I think they're consistent. They're represented on my list. They're not that high.
Okay.
But also my number 8 might be completely irrational, but I put USC at number 8.
Okay. I don't have USC at number 8, but I have somebody else currently in their conference. They won't be in the same conference a year from now.
Yeah. USC to me is more trending toward the future than the past results, but also too, they had the best player in college football last year. They were maybe a hamstring injury away from making the playoff in year 1 of the Riley era. I don't know if I would buy stock in a team at 8 more than that right now. I'm still holding on to the dream, Andy.
The only reason I have this team over USC at number 8 is because they're the ones that beat USC for the Pac-12 title. They're the ones that have won the past 2 Pac-12 titles. Mm-hmm. They are remarkably consistent as a program.
Yeah.
One of the most consistently well-coached programs in the country. And that is Utah. And is this me somewhat apologizing for unintentionally leaving Utah out when we make these lists of
it's the overcompensation?
They're so freaking good year after year after year after year. You know what you're going to get from them. Like I thought about having USC higher than them, but I'm like, you know what? No, let USC beat them and we'll talk about it. Then we can just move them up. But I think the Utes have earned this. So, and that's at a certain point, results have
they beat them twice last year.
They did. So
you're right. And you know what? You make me feel bad because I agree with you, and like glorifying certain teams that haven't done it seems wrong, and I did that. So,
but I understand where you're coming from, and when we come back, I'll explain why I have USC where I have USC.
Do your financial goals feel out of reach? They don't have to be. With Chime Secured Credit Builder Visa Credit Card, you can start building credit with your own money through on-time payments and small everyday purchases like groceries, streaming, and gas. Members see an increase of 30 points to their credit scores on average. Chime reports your payments to the major credit bureaus and help you build credit over time, all with no annual fees, large security deposits, or credit checks to apply. Start making your financial dreams a reality with Chime. Signing up only takes 2 minutes and doesn't affect your credit score. Get started at chime.com/Andy. That's chime.com/Andy. The Chime Credit Builder Visa Card is issued by Stride Bank N.A. pursuant to a license from Visa USA. Chime checking account and $200 qualifying deposit required to apply for secured Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card. Based on a study conducted by Experian Credit Builder members, observed an average of 30-point FICO score increase after 8 months with regular on-time payments. Results may vary. See Chime.com for details. Out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees may apply except at MoneyPass ATMs in a 7-Eleven or any Allpoint or Visa Plus Alliance ATM. That's chime.com/Andy. Get started. Takes 2 minutes. Chime.com/Andy.
Welcome back. So, yes, I had Utah number 8, and I had
Is that the
USC
team that
number-
you, is that the program you said overlooked a lot?
all the time. I feel like we always do. Like they're the ones we just mentally leave out when we're making all these lists. And
Well,
even
I'll
when
give
we're
you some
talking
good
about the
news.
best programs in the Pac-12, we leave them
They're
out.
on my list.
Good. They deserve to be.
Yeah, they're on my list. So not in the top 10, but they are. I'll give you my number 9,
Okay.
and that's Notre Dame.
Okay. So my number 9 is USC.
Okay,
And-
so we're close.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you completely on USC. My issue with USC is the same thing that I've been harping on since the Pac-12 championship game. They have to have a better defensive philosophy. I don't mean they necessarily have to have a different defensive coordinator. You know, everybody's like, "Oh, you're going to fire Alex Grinch and solve everything." Firing Alex Grinch won't solve the problem. The problem is top down. It's a vertical integration thing. They have to decide they want to be a team that can tackle at the end of the season. And that's why they're so low here, even though, because I know that they're going to have one of the best offenses in the country every year as long as Lincoln Riley is there. Their quarterback will be in the hunt for the Heisman Trophy every year as long as Lincoln Riley is there.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the whole thing of like, if there was a top 5 quarterback nationally, he's going to visit USC.
Yeah.
Like that fact alone is the reason why. But again, I feel like I should flip them because you convinced me.
Mhm.
And the point of this list wasn't to talk about the future; it's to talk about the past. And Utah's past is better than
Well,
USC's recent past.
it's both. I mean, I think USC's future is bright, but can USC ascend to the top of this list? Only if Lincoln Riley decides he wants
Well,
to
that's
have
the
a team that
difference.
can tackle in November.
If they figure out a solution to that issue, USC could jump into the top 4.
Yeah,
Like, I
but
think Utah is basically where it is.
right. I don't know that they're gonna get higher than this unless suddenly they start reeling in 5-star after 5-star.
But I thought that Notre Dame absolutely had to be represented in the top 10. They've made the playoffs on multiple occasions.
Well,
they-
the person who got them there is represented. Brian Kelly's team is in the top 5 for both of us.
Yeah, and like, listen, I'm a Marcus Freeman buyer.
Mm-hmm.
And after last year, the price might be down a little bit, but I'm still a buyer, I think. And you can't separate completely the accomplishments of the program from the person who led them there. Because if that were the case, then this list might look different. I mean, I have Oklahoma 4 spots ahead of USC, and the person who, or 3 spots, 2 spots, whatever it was, that led Oklahoma to all their successes at USC, and he's behind. So I do think that the program has to absorb it, because the program, or the people who are listening to the show and the people who are going to get upset or happy about the things that they hear on the show assign the success of the program, not the coach. Notre Dame has just done too much in the last 6 years to be left out of the top 10. They've accomplished far more on the field than Penn State has. And I like the direction that they're recruiting in. They're headed in recruiting. And I think their
They've
coach is
accomplished
sharp.
more in the field than Penn State has. Have they?
Yeah. How many times have they made the playoff?
Okay, what have they had to play Ohio State, Michigan all those seasons?
Yeah, I mean, I guess not. No.
So where are the wins from Notre Dame that are so much better than the wins by Penn State?
Well, I weight playoff appearances. So if we want to talk about like ease of path, then sure. You could say that Penn State.
They're both going to make it in the next iteration in those situations. So
yeah, and Notre Dame beat Clemson one year.
Figure it out.
Notre Dame beat Clemson, which is probably better than any win that Penn State's had.
There you go. There's one of them. That's
also their starting quarterback was out. So I mean, you
Trevor
could go down a
Lawrence
rabbit hole of whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
But I don't think that I can brush away the fact that Notre Dame's schedule. doesn't have the top end.
Well, it does
big
this
dogs.
year.
Now it does because it has Ohio State and USC.
Yeah.
But it is a hard schedule. Like, I don't think their schedule.
Oh,
is easy by
I
any
don't
stretch of the
think
imagination.
their schedule is cake. I've never
So making
been
the
one of those
playoff
people. Yeah.
is. I mean, I don't know. If you think that Penn State has accomplished more on the field than Notre Dame, I guess I could listen to that. But losing to better teams all the time,
Well,
and saying
again,
you had to play them is not a win.
The guy who did that is LSU's coach. The guy who coaches Notre Dame now lost to Marshall and Stanford last year.
Yeah, but Notre Dame might have been higher than 9 if Brian Kelly were still the head coach too.
Notre Dame would have been a lot higher than 9 if Brian Kelly was the head coach.
Yeah, so it's represented in my calculus.
So there's never been any calculus going through your brain. So,
you just said I could do okay at Princeton yesterday, and now you're giving me that crap.
Well, you're probably majoring in philosophy. Let's be real.
Yeah.
You would have those
and
philosophy professors spinning in circles. You're like, listen, do you know how hard peanut butter is to wash off? Are you sure you take that $10 million? Okay, so I had 10 Oklahoma, and this is my faith in the program of always being good. This is my faith in Brent Venables to recruit. This is my question mark of Brent Venables on-field coach. He can if he shows this year that he is a very good on-field coach, I'm putting them probably in the top 5 if we do this again next year.
It could happen. We should do it
in
every
an
year.
instant. Yeah.
I'm with you. So this was a crucial spot for me because I think being a top 10 program in college football is a huge accomplishment.
I think it's an arbitrary number because it has a 0 as the last digit.
I think that it is my personal award to you. And I reached on this one, I think. Okay. And I don't know did TCU make your list?
They did, yes.
Okay, TCU's 10 for me. I don't think you can leave out the team that made the national championship game last year. They have a coach that has a clear and identifiable plan. They are in a very advantageous recruiting area. They've been a consistently good football team on the field. They haven't always had the results in terms of 10-win seasons, but they've been tough. Gary Patterson, this isn't a program that just had one crazy year. They should have made the playoff potentially in 14. I like what Sonny Dykes is doing there, and I want to reward a team that not only made the playoff, but won a playoff game against the team that you have number 3 represented in my top 10 nationally.
I like it. I like it.